Leitmotifs all the way down. The rain drummed a relentless rhythm against the tall, arched windows of the archive. But inside, the only sound was the dry scritch-scratch of a fountain pen. Julian didn't look up when the heavy oak doors creaked open. He didn't need to. The hesitant, heavy footsteps approaching his alcove belonged to Leo, a brilliant, data-driven researcher who had spent the last 3 years trying to map human cognition with cold, hard analytics. Leo dropped a thick, leather-bound manuscript onto the mahogany table. The title caught the dim lamplight, The Architecture of Revelation, from the adjacent possible to leitmotifs all the way down. "I don't get it," Leo said, his voice taut with frustration. He slid into the opposite chair. "I've read through this 3 times today. It reads like a beautiful riddle, Julian. But where is the data? Where is the floor?" Julian finally capped his pen, a faint smile playing on his lips. He looked at his name on the manuscript's cover. "Ah, you've found my gem. Tell me, Leo, what did you see on your first pass?" "Facts," Leo said, tapping his fingers on the table. "I saw a breakdown of human progression. Act 1 talks about acquiring a something, a mental model, a skill, a piece of insight, completely in a vacuum, like Steve Jobs taking a calligraphy class. At the moment, it has 0 immediate utility. Then, life unfolds, and boom, it's the exact puzzle piece you need for a future you couldn't foresee. The adjacent possible," Julian nodded, leaning back. "Stuart Kaufman's model. Reality expands like a house. You open a door, and it doesn't just show you a new room. It exposes entirely new doors that didn't even exist to you before. It changes your baseline reality." "Right. Latent learning, cognitive scaffolding. I understand the mechanics of the first pass," Leo countered, his eyes narrowing. "It's basic decoding. But then you shift to ancient texts in Act 2. You claim that if a person keeps reading, the text stops being a flat, isolated collection of stories. You call it a leitmotif, a musical theme. Because it is," Julian said softly. "The Western rational mindset treats ancient literature like a cryptographic puzzle to be parsed with data. An information gap, but it's an ontological reality. On the first pass, you just decode data points. On the subsequent passes, you start recognizing the echoes. The minor details act as structural callbacks, a hyperlinked web." "And the third stage?" Leo asked, leaning forward. "Your table says lifelong practice. And the experience is, the text begins to read the reader." "That sounds like mysticism, Julian, not science." Julian reached over and tapped the manuscript. "Look at Act 3. The observer affect. I use affect with an A for a reason. In physics, the observer effect means looking changes the object. But in deep contemplation, the observer affect means the act of looking deeply changes the observer. A play within a play within a play," Leo muttered, reading from his notes. "Exactly," Julian said, his eyes alight. 3 nested, recursive layers. The outer play. The text implants knowledge. Ground floor scaffolding. The inner play. Because you are now altered by that knowledge, you return to the text as a different person. Your heightened awareness unlocks hidden dimensions. The text shifts shape based on the caliber of the observer. The core play. You realize you aren't a detached critic. The text was analyzing you all along. It's a diagnostic tool for the soul. The volume of revelation you get back is a direct mirror of your internal capacity." Leo was silent for a moment, the sound of the rain filling the gap between them. He looked down at the paper, his analytical armor beginning to crack. "You quoted Mark chapter 4. With the measure you use, it will be measured to you. You're saying insight has a mathematical metric." "A precise one," Julian agreed. "The exact amount of focused sensory weight you invest determines the volume of revelation you get back. You bring new grief, new wisdom, new life experience to the pages, and the dots connect directly into your lived reality." Leo rubbed his temples, staring at the final section of the text. "Which brings us to the end. Leitmotifs all the way down. The old mythological paradox says reality sits on a pile of turtles, an infinite regression where every foundation rests on another turtle." "But you say it is not turtles," Julian finished, his voice dropping to a reverent whisper. "The foundation of reality is not a static pile of rocks or cold, data-driven facts. It is a symphony. When you peer into the deepest layers of a text, or the deepest layers of your own life, you never hit a silent, empty floor. There is no bottom data point, Leo. Then what is down there? The same eternal melody, playing at a deeper, more resonant frequency. The micro melody of a single word opens into the macro movement of a chapter, which harmonizes with the cosmic song of human existence. The circuit closes completely. Julian leaned forward, looking intently at his friend. You are no longer a detached audience member listening to a performance, Leo. Your focus, your steps up the scaffolding, even your frustration right now, it's all written into the score. The theme predicted the exact moment you would look into the mirror of the text and recognize the song. Leo stared at the manuscript. He didn't argue. Slowly, he turned back to page 1, pulled a chair closer to the lamp, and began to read it again. This time, he wasn't looking for data. He was listening for the echo,